Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. We talk a lot of football here on 3 and Out, but there's so much more to bet on. The NBA is obviously in full swing. I was watching Michigan State and Arkansas play basketball. College hoops is back. Even the NHL is rock and rolling. So if you haven't tried your first bet yet on Hard Rock Bet, there's still time for you to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you not only get your winnings, but an extra $150 in bonus bets. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. And it's also live in Arizona, Ohio, Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado. So download the Hard Rock Bet app today and make your first deposit. This Veterans Day, the nation pauses to honor the men and women who have stood to protect our freedoms. They have shown courage, sacrifice, and love of country. Folds of Honor carries their sacrifice forward by providing scholarships to the spouses and children of America's fallen or disabled service members and first responders. Join us. Become a Folds of Honor wingman with a monthly donation of $13 at foldsofhonor.org. Together, sacrifice can be met with hope. Well, what is going on, everybody? Of course, this show is presented by my friends at Zone Pouches. Hopefully everyone's doing well, better than that newly married man, Aaron Rodgers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just lose 25-10. The game was not that close. They get destroyed in Charger fashion tonight on Sunday Night Football to fall to 5-4. The Chargers, do not sleep on the Chargers, regardless how many injuries they have, 7-3. So we'll dive into that game. Some other stuff happening around the NFL. Dan Campbell, I didn't even see this because I didn't have their game on the audio on, but some interesting news after when it comes to the play calling for the Lions. Seattle and the Rams are on a collision course, which could be a NFC decider. A lot of other stuff going on around the NFL. Before we talk any football, I do need you to subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so you never miss a thing. Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, we're live 3 times a week. We got content all the other, I got to do math, 4 days. We got a lot of stuff going on. Never miss a thing. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And we're talking a lot of football. It's been a fun season. It's kind of sad. You start looking at the records. You're like 7-3. That's 10 games. You're like, we're already halfway through. It kind of makes me, God, I love football so much. Not quite as much as Jim Harbaugh, but I love football enough, a lot. But before we dive into anything, my friends at Zone Pouches, this product does contain nicotine, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. Underage sale prohibited. And if you're as competitive as I am, you're always looking for something to help you stay dialed in. And for me, that is Zone nicotine pouches. I went through about 10 today watching some ball, and you will not catch me without any. I went through a tin basically the last 2 days of mint. It's really good, and I really enjoy it. But I like citrus, dragon fruit as well. And the best part about my friends at Zone, 20 pouches, first 15 for the other guys. So choose Zone, dominate the day. Use the promo code number 3 and out 20 on NicoKick.com for 20% at checkout. I was thinking about this tonight. You know, and listen, I'm guilty of this too. I think we overcomplicate a lot of things in life, right? From when we're young to when we age. I mean, I got a baby on the way, and I would imagine my baby it doesn't even, it exists in her belly, but it doesn't exist. It's not out of the womb yet. Has more clothes currently in his closet than I probably had through the first 5 years of my life. And anyone that's had a child, you realize you go through all these different things. It's like I don't think my parents were doing this in the '80s, but hey, it is what it is. Feels a little overcomplicated to me, but cards were dealt. And I think we break down so many different elements of football, college, pro. At the end of the day, do you have a good coach? Do you have a good quarterback? And really, in tandem, are my two better than your two? And when you look at Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, I think we've tried. They have all these in, and I'm guilty of this too. I'm not trying to point any fingers here. I'm as guilty as anyone. I bet on the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight. And I'm watching this game and I go, look around the league. The combination of head coach and quarterback, how many around the league would you take over those two guys? You go, well, Andy Reid, Mahomes. Okay. Who else? Sirianni and Hurts? Well, do I get Howie Roseman or not? Because if I don't get Howie Roseman, hell no. Jordan Love and LaFleur? Well, if LaFleur doesn't win Monday Night Football, he might get fired. John Harbaugh and Lamar? Okay, that's the first one you can make an argument. Sean McDermott, Josh Allen? I'd take Josh Allen over Herbert, but I would not take Sean McDermott over Jim Harbaugh. You start going around the best teams. Like, listen, Dan Campbell might be the third Harbaugh brother. I'm taking Herbert over Goff. They are a top 3 or 4 combination in the NFL. I have a lot of respect for Mike Tomlin. I think he's pretty damn good. His resume speaks for itself. He has not won a playoff game in about a decade. Aaron Rodgers, who's got a new lease on life. You see that wedding ring on his left hand? I do believe he's the most famous individual in this internet era that we've never seen a picture of his significant other. Fascinated to see what she looks like. But at 41 years old, the combination of those two guys aren't sniffing the top 10. Now, Aaron's played well this year. Tonight, he did not. But when you look at those two guys who are now 5-4 and are leaking serious oil, they've lost 3 of their last 4 games, 2 of their last 3 to playoff opponents. I mean, tonight, the Chargers, who are headed back to the playoffs again, surely, kicked the living shit out of them. One thing Tomlin's always had is this kind of chip on his shoulder, this underdog mentality, even though he's coaching for this historic brand, and kind of this edginess. Well, that's completely gone because you remove the Colts game, this team that I've seen, like, what's going on. Meanwhile, I look across the field and I see Jim Harbaugh. It's like his offensive line's in shambles. Doesn't matter. He missed Khalil Mack for half the season. Didn't matter. He's got injuries left and right. Who cares? So when that outcome played itself out, it's like, yeah, of course the team with the better coach and the better quarterback won. And I look back on, why did I outthink the room on this one? Just because the Pittsburgh Steelers might have more fans in SoFi? Who gives a shit? Clearly Jim doesn't. And I just think that was a clinic tonight from one of the best head coaches in the NFL, from, even Justin Herbert. I just looked. He got sacked 5 times early in the game. He gets tackled from behind. He's limping around. There is something about the power of Jim. And when he coaches you as a quarterback, you just play at a different level. You play with a different belief. And it was on full display. And the one thing with Jim Harbaugh, despite being a former NFL quarterback, not a linebacker, not a safety, not a defensive tackle, he's a quarterback. His defense is now, since I've been really paying attention, to when he coached at Stanford, and you could even go back, I'm sure, to San Diego, but with the 49ers, obviously at Michigan, and now with the Chargers, are awesome. And Mike Tomlin, known as this defensive guy, you're watching tonight, you're like, well, you remove the Indianapolis game, doesn't look that great. So I think that tonight you saw one team that's headed to the playoffs and another team that, let's face it, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are in major trouble. And I was wrong because probably a month ago I said, I just did the math. They were 1-5, that being the Ravens. The Steelers, they were 4-1. They had some easy opponents coming up. They had some difficult opponents, but they were at home. I was like, they're going to cruise to like 11 wins. Their floor was like 10. Now I go, I don't know. I think I'm completely out on them. If you told me right now, 8, 9 wins probably feels about the max. Guess what? The Ravens are going to win more than that. Their next 3 games are against the Browns, the Jets, and the Bengals. So, worst case scenario, before they play their Steelers as the 4th game on that slate, they would be 6-6. If I was a betting man, I would currently take them to win all 3 of those games. I would imagine, I haven't looked at the line next week against the Browns, but the Browns, Jets, and the Bengals, on average, the gambling lines there will be around a touchdown, potentially more as they win some of these games. Watching today, their secondary, fully healthy. Lamar Jackson, fully healthy. Confidence with that squad, full go. It's the flip side when you look at the Steelers, who offensively have a major issue. They have 1 wide receiver. Let me repeat, 1 wide receiver, who they are paying $150 million over 3 or 4 years. Gifted freak. But I wouldn't exactly call him Jerry Rice or Terrell Owens. And he clearly gets taken out of games. And then they have all these other guys, Roman Wilson, Austin, 17 tight ends. Even when Aaron plays well, unlike tonight, they're not going to put up a lot of points. It's going to be a struggle if they're playing a decent defense. And the running game, like, kind of non-existent. Jaylen Warren, good little player. But if he has to lead your team in carries, your running game is going to be limited. So when I look at this operation and I look at the Baltimore Ravens, I'll be the first to say, I did not see this coming a month ago. I was completely wrong. I think when the dust settles, the Baltimore Ravens are in first place by the end of the month. And then as December plays out, like, think about tonight. Aaron Rodgers, there were a couple times, and I never blame, like, when you're young, trying to prove yourself, part of playing the quarterback position, whether it be in college and definitely in the NFL, there are going to be times, it's why they make all this money. It's why they are the stars of the league. You're going to have to stay in that pocket for like an extra split second too long and deliver a pass for a big first down or for a big touchdown or for a big completion, and you're going to get throttled. And all the great quarterbacks have done that. But we saw Brady a couple years back. That last year in Tampa, he's like, F this. I got a bunch of kids. I got a bunch of money. I am too old to get hit by all these quick, fast guys that are just rocking my ribs, lower body, and driving me into the grass. I'm over this. And he wanted no part of getting hit. Absolutely none. And tonight, Aaron's had bits of it over the years. Tonight, it was on full display. Like, I'm married. I'm really rich. I probably don't have a Super Bowl team. I'm not standing in there that extra split second. There was a play in the second half on a third down where he was about, I don't even think get hit that hard, but he was definitely going to take a collision. And he felt it right at the last second and kind of winced. Again, I'm not trying to act like he should do it. I don't blame him at all. He's 41 years old. But that limits your ability. And his talent isn't quite what it was in his heyday. So when he's going to turn down certain passes against good defenses, it is going to look like tonight. In what we witnessed, I would imagine there are some Packer historians, but that has to be one of the worst games he's ever played since becoming a good player in 2009. There's a chance that's the worst primetime game he's ever played. I mean, at one point in time in the fourth quarter, he had barely thrown for 100 yards. Again, the Chargers defense is good, and statistically they're good. It's not like Khalil Mack is also flanked by Sean Marion. It's not like Derwin James is also flanked by Eric Weddle. Again, good defense, great coaching, physical mentality, right? It's the way in which they play. It's Harbaugh. When you play a Jim Harbaugh team, when they get the opportunity, they are going to rock your world. And the Steelers, like, sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't. You know, like Cam and TJ and their front kind of does. But I would say their back seven can be very, very hit or miss. And if Rodgers is going to play like that, like we've been saying, you know, even in some of their losses, Aaron's been good and they still lost. Well, when he's bad, you get boat raced. And Chargers are a 7-3 team. They're probably headed toward 11-ish wins. And they're just dramatically better than the Steelers. I feel like if they play Pittsburgh 10 times, Chargers win like 7. And I don't think the Chargers are as good as the Ravens based on health. So what's going to happen here? Now you could say Pittsburgh does feel comfortable playing Baltimore. But to me, even if they split those two games, it's the other games. The Steelers have proven they play a good team. The Packers, the Chargers, Seattle, they're getting worked. But they could also lose to like the Bengals. So you can't trust them in any game. And those are the worst type teams, again, to bet on never again. No more touching the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward. I'm out. But just to respect of, because I had some people like, Middlekauff, remember when you were saying Tomlin should get fired? I've always said, I think the New York Giants would sell their left nut to have Mike Tomlin be their head coach in 2026. They would die for Tomlin roaming that sideline, coaching Jackson Dart and Scadaboo and Malik Neighbors. But this Pittsburgh thing is over. They're not going to be good enough. And it's not all his fault. And I don't know all the inner workings of the Steelers. And some Steelers push back when I say, Tomlin's not as involved in personnel. And they'll say, listen, us fans, we're closer to this. He is more involved than you think. Regardless, the way this roster is built, it's just not that good. And it's got, and Collinsworth and Tirico, we're talking about it, it's got major flaws. Because I'd be like, well, look at the Chargers. Their offensive line is rolling out like me. And defensively, you got Khalil Mack, you got some young pieces that they've drafted, but it's the mentality, it's how well they're coached. And that's the other knock on the Steelers. Is from a coaching standpoint, you could just even say the staff, right? Who are you taking? Tomlin and Terrell Austin, or are you taking Jesse Minter, which I didn't realize tonight. Mike Tomlin kind of really got his big break and kind of took off coaching for Cincinnati, where Jesse Minter's dad, Rick Minter, who I met briefly, we kind of crossed over a little bit. Chip Kelly had hired him in 2013. He coached for the Eagles for a couple years. Well-respected older coach. And there was a clip on Sunday Night Football of Jesse Minter going over and saying what's up to Mike, and Mike had a big smile, and they were hugging. It was cool. But I'm watching Jesse Minter, like he's a big-time coach. And I think sometimes Steelers fans push back of, what's up with our coaching? Like, is our coaching? And I'd say coaching, I think, can be hit or miss, but your personnel's not great. And one thing the Steelers used to have in their heyday of early Mike Tomlin and up until like 2016, 2017, their rosters were awesome. And now you're watching their roster like, meh, okay, pretty flawed. One wide receiver who kind of runs deep routes, doesn't do much else. It can be hit or miss on effort. It's like, yeah, I don't really see it. And a 41-year-old quarterback that, yeah, is just kind of over it. And when I say over it, I just meant like standing in there like you have to do, especially with a flawed team, and he didn't want to do it tonight. And, yeah, they got problems. So I think the Baltimore Ravens, I'm changing my tune because now I got a month of evidence. I got 4 straight games. Bengals, we got the Packers, we got the Colts game, which is clear outlier, and then tonight. So 75% of my evidence over the last month says, get out. Get out. 25% says, well, hell, if their defensive line just causes constant turnovers and sacks the quarterback every other play, they can win. It's like, well, that's probably not going to happen very often. And that's what I bet on tonight. Turns out they sacked Herbert a decent amount. I think he was sacked and hit a bunch of times. Didn't matter. I mean, they couldn't score a point to save their life. So, and now granted, early on, DK had broken out and Rodgers kind of scrambled, a little throwback play, and overshot him by about 10 yards. So congrats to the Chargers, who look headed back to the playoffs. And that is, Harbaugh's done some impressive things. Taking a team that loses a tackle that you give $100 million to start the season, he never plays a game. Another guy that you draft 5th overall and is going to miss, 80% of the season. And to compete and to win games, it's just remarkable. And this is my thing with Tomlin. Sometimes your message just falls flat. They don't listen to. It's human nature, right? Sometimes I think, like, how did I know I was young, but, like, live with my parents for 18 years. And I think as you get older, you just you think differently, you grow, you change. You're like, well, I wasn't even the same human being, right? And I think it's no different than a coach. Like their message, it's valuable, it's personable, and it resonates. But after a period of time, once you go on 15 plus years, it's time for a change. And I've made a bunch of changes in my career. Hell, I've been fired. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. Ask Andy Reid what it was like to get fired by the Philadelphia Eagles. Do you think he regrets that moment? Look how his career took off like a rocket ship ever since then. Most coaches, Belichick got fired in Cleveland, went on to win 6 Lombardis with the Patriots. Pete Carroll got fired multiple times before he went to USC. Went on to win national championships and then another Super Bowl. I guess his first Super Bowl, but like he had been part of a Super Bowl team with the 49ers when he was younger. You know what I mean? Getting fired or leaving is not a bad thing. Jim Harbaugh, once upon a time, I was there, living in the area, around the team constantly, on the radio. I know they claim they mutually departed. The 49ers fired Jim Harbaugh. Think about that. Jim Harbaugh, who has been undeniably one of the best coaches, college or pro, and honestly, you could argue there is a short list of guys who have proven they can do both. I mean, he won a national championship in college, and if I'm a betting man, he's going to win a Super Bowl in the pros. But even as of right now, hasn't won a Super Bowl. Just he got to one. How many guys can say that? Right? Obviously, Pete Carroll's done both. Jimmy Johnson's done both. It's a very, very small list. Urban Meyer, all-time great college coach. One of the greatest college coaches of my life. Couldn't make it a year in the pros. Think about that. Could not make it a year. For those of you younger people, when I was young, Steve Spurrier, I'm trying to even think of what his comp would be in college. It would be like Mike Leach meets Kirby Smart. Was kicking the shit out of everybody at Florida. Went to the pros, was a laughingstock. Most guys can't do both. It doesn't work that way. Jim could coach the junior midgets down the street that are 7 and 8-year-olds. He'd coach high school, he'd coach college, and he can coach pros. He's kicking ass at every level. It is unreal to watch. I mean, it really is. He was put on this earth to coach and win. And he's really good at it. And he's a good example. Like, he's moved around. Was at San Diego for 4 years. Was at Stanford for 4 or 5 years. Was 49ers for 4 years. Michigan was by far his longest stint. Now he's with the Chargers for 2 years. Like, that's the thing with Mike Tomlin. Like, sometimes being reinvigorated, having a new challenge, pushing yourself. So it's honestly why I just went to hot yoga. I'm like, I don't do enough things in my life that kind of push me. I was watching this clip of like, don't even ask me how I ended up on this, but Claire Kittle and Kristen Juszczyk, they have this YouTube channel. It popped up in my feed and I clicked it, and I didn't watch the whole thing. It's just they're mic'd up. But I saw they were in Juszczyk's backyard, and Kyle was like, I truly believe this. And it was like kind of got serious then, because he was talking about how he goes in the cold tub and the sauna. And he's like, I do believe you should try once a day to do something that just makes you a little uncomfortable. And he says every morning for, I think it's like 7 days a week for the entire season, whether he wants to or not, he gets in the cold tub at 6 a.m. And he's like, honestly, most days, obviously, I do not want to do that. But it's an uncomfortable thing, and it's just, I start my day a little uncomfortable. And I think there's a comfort level with Mike Tomlin. Pittsburgh Steelers, he knows where his office is. His wife's got the building downtown, the business downtown where she sells stuff. It's like they got a great little life, makes a ton of money, but it's not working. So it's like Jim Harbaugh, new challenge, new challenge, new challenge, new challenge. Saw one guy beat the living crap out of the other guy. So it's like sometimes you just need a change. Speaking about like one thing with Jim Harbaugh cannot call plays. Jim Harbaugh has never called plays. Didn't call plays at Stanford. Definitely did not call plays with the 49ers. Never called plays with Michigan. And is obviously not calling plays with the Chargers. It doesn't matter. Like, he does not have to call plays to be a great coach. Like his brother. I don't think John Harbaugh has ever called plays. Right? That's why he's fired, or a lot of his coordinators have gotten head coaching jobs, but He doesn't call defensive plays, which is his background. Obviously, he's never calling offensive plays. But John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh, I don't want to go as far as say they can't call plays, but when you have literally never called plays, I think it's fair to say like they can't call plays. And they're still awesome coaches. Their records speak for themselves. I've called Dan Campbell the third Harbaugh brother. I think there are a lot of similarities. I think those three guys would get along very, very well. If you told me that Dan Campbell grew up with the Harbaugh family, I think he would have fit right in. He's like a little bit more of like the Texas redneck version of those guys. And they just have a lot of similarities. And I've been saying forever is like, Dan's an incredible leader of men, CEO, and it's a great quality to have. Like even Mike Tomlin once back in the day did call plays. Doesn't do it anymore. Need someone to kind of point the finger at and fire, but has in his past called plays. Well, I didn't realize this. I had the Commander game. The afternoon slate today was atrocious. I mean, it was bad. And I'm never going to complain. I get to do this for a living, to watch football for a living. So when I am saying this, I'm saying this in with a smile on my face. But it was, at one point in time, the 49ers were down 21-0, and Seattle was up 35-0. So the combined scores, not a math major, were like 56-0. And the Lions, it was clear, were going to beat the living crap out of Washington. So Dan Camp, so I had like a Niner game on a big TV. I had the Seattle game on a smaller TV. And then I had the Washington game on kind of my computer monitor, which is, when I was a kid would be considered a big TV. It's probably like 25 inches. And I didn't realize this. And you look over, Jameson Williams making plays there. That game wasn't even a fair fight. And then after the game, someone DM'd me. They're like, what do you think about Dan Campbell calling plays? I'm like, Dan Campbell called the plays? What about Johnny Morton? And then obviously I do a little recon. Most of you have probably seen. I see the clip of Dan Campbell in his post-game press conference because someone asked him, it looked like you were calling plays. He's like, yeah, we just needed to mix it up. Oh, wait, Dan Campbell just called plays? Now, Washington's defense is horrendous. You can, like, you go through them like a wet paper bag. They have no resistance. I think the difference of the Lions and the Commanders today was almost like over 250 yards of yardage. It's not a fair fight. Their defense is Swiss cheese right now. But still, Dan Campbell, and maybe he knew his opponent, but it's like, let's see if we can do something different. And he just called the plays. And Jameson Williams had the best game of his season. Obviously, other guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a touchdown, Jahmyr Gibbs running around. They look kind of like the Lions of before. And anytime you lose a guy like Ben Johnson and you're a CEO head coach, it is very difficult to replace him. I'm not a Lions historian, but I do think it's fair to say, definitely in my lifetime, I mean, the Lions have only been good a couple times. Scott Linehan was the offensive coordinator for Stafford. I can't even tell you who the guy was early on in the 90s when they made the NFC Championship game. But I do think it's fair to say is Ben Johnson is probably the best offensive play caller the Detroit Lions have ever had. And that's not even, that's a positive. Yeah, I think he's one of the best play callers. I think he has a chance to go down as like one of the great play callers. Like you watch him with the Bears, he is exceptional. He was born to be a star at his job. And I'm talking specifically calling the plays. I'm not talking being the head coach necessarily, which obviously he's doing a good job. I'm just saying that skill that we see around the league, certain guys are great at, the Andy Reeds and the Sean Paytons, like that skill put them on the map. Now the younger crew, the O'Connells, the Kyles, the Sean McVays. Ben Johnson is a stud. I would put him right in the top category with all the other guys his age group calling plays in the NFL. It's hard to replace. And Dan Campbell kind of went the safe route. This Johnny Morton guy, he's old. He bounced around the NFL. Dan likes him. Feels like a well-respected guy in the NFL. Clearly, he's not that great. It's not a great sign for him ever calling plays again. And I don't know. Maybe Dan, does he really want to do this year in, year out? Probably not. I think ideally he would like to give those responsibilities to someone so he can take care of everything. But it had to be done because he's looking around like the NFC, while it's wide open, it's also extremely competitive. And I don't trust you as a play caller because I don't think you make that move if you go, I trust this guy in big games and I need to get my reps now because regardless, like if I didn't podcast for a year and I came back, I would not be as good and in a rhythm and it'd take me a little while to get going. So Dan Campbell's going, we got to be rolling come December when we got big games against divisional opponents, then whoever we're playing in the playoffs. I can't just take this away December 1 and hopefully a month leading into the playoffs gives us a chance. That's not going to work. I need to do it right now. So I get a couple months going into the playoffs. Because to me, I'd be stunned if Johnny Morton ever calls a play again in 2025. And obviously, you can just keep him there. Who knows? It depends. Maybe Dan Campbell's like, I want to do this now. I doubt it, but I think it's more desperation. Like, I have to do this or we're in trouble. And this is what I said early in the season, in the offseason, where I just thought this one, I just had to look at his resume. I go, this guy's 55. All these famous coaches, Sean Payton, John Gruden, all I've ever heard is, I love this guy. I love this guy. Well, why didn't you ever make him the offensive coordinator? Why didn't you make him the offensive coordinator? Jim Harbaugh, what did he do for Jim Harbaugh? Well, he was a wide receiver coach for the 49ers. So it's like, he's a position coach. And I've said forever, there's nothing wrong with being a position coach. What industry do you work in? Right? Most industries, there's a certain level of like, that's where you got to get to make big money. Wide receiver coaches in the NFL make like 750, 800 grand. Great life, right? And all you got to do is worry. If you got a couple great players, just kind of motivating them, keeping them awake in meetings. Like, you think you're coaching Justin Jefferson, like on how to get in and out of breaks? Give me a break. You think you're coaching like Amon-Ra St. Brown about what to do going over the middle at this point? No. So I just think he went with a safe hire, kind of backfired in his face, but he has enough skill. And I'm a huge believer in people that you go, that guy can do anything, right? Because some people, it's like, that guy's great at one thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Most people, if you meet a guy that's like great at sales, usually he couldn't also run the IT department. That's usually not how it works, right? But Dan Campbell, if he's proven to be a great play caller, like, that's something to have in your back pocket. If the plays go to shit with Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman and Justin Herbert like couldn't function together, Jim couldn't call the plays. I know that sounds crazy. He can't do it. He won't do it. It's never happening. It's not an option. John Harbaugh, defensive guy. They've gone through spurts over the years where their defense been a little weird. Hell, it happened this year. It's not like John's like, you know what? Let me take over. Can't do it. Refuses to do it. Dan Campbell's like, fuck it, hand me the sheet. I'll put up 35. Next week, give me the sheet again. I'll do it. So congrats to Dan Campbell. What a badass. Seattle and LA. They look like they're on a collision course. Now, obviously, we're recording this before Monday Night Football, which is going to have big ramifications for the playoffs. Two powerhouse teams, two teams that, I mean, could be a preview of the NFC Championship game, or could be a preview of the second round of the playoffs. I mean, these are two big time teams. So it's no guarantee that Seattle and LA are, who knows? I mean, it's football. You both could lose in the first round of the playoffs. Hell, you could play each other in the first round of the playoffs as 2 versus, it wouldn't be 2 versus 7. They have too good of records, but 3 versus 6, whatever. But I would say right now, and I told Coward this, if, in college football, where they do every Tuesday, the rankings come out. If you told me, hey, John, do the college football top 12 rankings, Seattle will be my number one team. I at this point in time, now, I guess if the Eagles were to go to Green Bay and win by 40, maybe I might change my tune. Just, they're the defending champs. I tend to lean with teams that have been there, done that. I mean, I had a front row seat of watching the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors. Like, championship blood matters to me. But the way Seattle's playing, hell, the way LA's playing. Look at LA's like last 4 games. They are blowing people out. Now you can be like, well, it's the Jags, it's the Saints. Well, okay, it's still the NFL. And they're just throttling them. I mean, the 49ers have a mash unit on offense. A mash unit. I mean, they got guys that I don't even know who they are. And their defensive line is just been obliterated by injuries. But what do you do to a team that's injured? You put up points and more points and more points and never stop scoring. And that's what they did. And I think one thing that defines both those two teams is they both made two enormous offseason moves. Obviously, Sam Darnold was one of the headlining uh, free agent acquisition signings. But I would say Devontae Adams was probably, just in terms of name recognition, one of the more famous guys to sign this offseason as well. And I don't think you could find two better signings. Obviously, Sam Darnold, anytime you get a quarterback who has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, objectively, eye test wise, every metric. You watch today, I mean, I didn't even have the game on. I didn't realize it even started because it started at 2 and the other games didn't start till 25. And I saw on Twitter that I don't know what play it was into the game, had to be probably like within the first several. He just threw like he threw the ball, I think from his own 45. JSN caught it at the front of the goal line. So 55-yard bomb in the air that just had perfect arc and hit him right in the hands. It's like that is the play was football porn. And do you know that Devontae Adams has 8 touchdowns? Has 8 touchdowns. There was a play today where he ran this quick out route against one of the 49er safeties. And a lot of 49er fans would be like, why are they putting a safety on him? Unless Deion Sanders was, rocking the 21 in 1994 for the 49ers, no one was covering that route. You talk about football porn. Devontae, who's one of the best route runners of his generation, Matt Stafford threw this ball almost to the front pylon where it was only either going to touch Devontae's hands or it was going to hit the photographer in the feet. It was just a thing of beauty. And those guys' rapport is what Rodgers and Devontae had by the time Devontae was 5 or 6 years into the league was pretty special. It was a Hall of Fame connection. It feels like Stafford and Devontae have developed it like that. And I would say the same thing for JSN and Darnold. The difference is Stafford didn't practice in training camp. And I was one to be like, this is kind of scary. This dude's back, man. I don't know what's going on. This old guy is back. Look at his buddy Kershaw. Back started going, was never the same. Turns out it didn't matter. I don't think they were faking. I mean, I do think his back was causing him problems. You watch Stafford right now. I don't know if there's definitely not 4 better quarterbacks than those two guys. Are there 2 better quarterbacks than those two guys? I mean, they are dominating at football. And obviously JSN, who looks like Jerry Rice, and Devontae Adams, who looks like peak Packer Devontae Adams, help a lot. Uh, the Bears and the Giants. There was a moment today because of the setup that I have. I can only thing when you're watching like 8 games at once, you can only have the volume on one of the games. So you kind of got to pick. And usually, little inside baseball here in the Middlekauff. This office probably has another 2 weeks before it turns back into a bedroom, and I move to the actual official office. But I usually have the audio on whatever I think is the biggest game in the morning. And this morning I kind of throttled back between the Ravens and the Vikings, and the what was the other game? The Bucks and the Patriots. But the majority, honestly, I just left it on the Ravens Vikings game. And all the other games you're kind of watching, but when little things happen, penalty stuff, you don't always have the context. And there was a moment in the Giants Bears game which actually turned out to be potentially probably one of the more exciting games of the day because it was another historic collapse from the Giants, and Caleb Williams made some great plays. And honestly, I told Coward this. I thought he had a really good game. He was making some awesome throws. It was freezing cold, so it's harder to catch. His ball, he throws like a 110-mile-an-hour fastball. He was throwing some lasers today that his guys were dropping. Obviously, made some big touchdown. He had a huge touchdown. He had a game-winning touchdown run, and just made some huge scrambles. And I just thought he played pretty well. But obviously, Dart got concussed. But there was a play once Russell Wilson was in there that we got producer Shane, who is a huge Giants fan, diehard. Pretty high on Jackson Dart. Don't blame him. Looks like he's got a chance to be a really good player if he doesn't get hurt. All of a sudden, throws in the text chain. Did Brian Daboll just decline a 12 men on the field penalty? I'm like, nah, I don't know if he did. And we kind of figure out, yeah, he did. And my first takeaway was like, well, he kicked the field goal. It's 20-10. And at that period of time in the fourth quarter, like 10 minutes to go, they're not going to come back. Like the Bears aren't scoring 20 points. It's like, bro, have you watched the Giants play this year? I'm like, all right, it's too cold. You're not going to be able. 10 minutes later, the Giants lose. And looking back, you could argue, again, 12 men on the field, auto first down. It's not like he just kicked a 45-yard field goal and you still got to drive and it's weird weather or whatever, and your backup quarterback's in. He was at the 1-yard line. The 1-yard line, where I do think it's fair to say that you could, even if you never let Russell throw, you could run 3 runs, worst case scenario, kick another field goal at the same distance. He declined the penalty. Let me repeat. He declined the penalty to just take the field goal instead of taking a new set of downs at the 1-yard line. Obviously, the rest is history. He lost the game. I do think there's a pretty good chance. Some of you guys are watching this live on YouTube. If you're listening to this on the podcast, sometime Monday morning, would not be stunned at all if at one period of time, I would guess between 7 and 10 Pacific Standard Time, so probably 10 Eastern to like noon, maybe-ish Eastern. Brian Daboll, that probably is very confusing. I don't even know why I just described it like that. I'm an idiot. I bet he's fired in the morning. Let me just. If you said, John, do you think Brian Daboll is fired November 10th, or do you think he survives another week? I'd say I'm leaning that he gets fired, because that's pretty hard to shake, right? It's one thing on the road, Denver. We can debate how good Bo Nix is, but I think we all do agree that Denver's going to end up winning probably 12, 13 games. I do think the Bears, who were not playing that well, to lose that game, that one's hard to stomach. So I would say Brian Daboll's decision would go down as the dummy of the week. I wrote this down because I was like, this has really been pissing me off. I was like, you know what I don't do enough? Is just write down something that happens in a game and just make sure that I get to it, because it's like, I'm passionate about this. Like this, I see this every week, and every time I see it, it just makes my blood boil. I've been saying forever, and the one thing, I've been consistent with this one, college football, them throwing kids out of the game for targeting is one of the most egregious things going right now in all of sports. Because, one, we're a decade into the post-CTE era and concussion era, that we all know the rules of engagement here. All these guys are being coached. No one is headhunting. No one is trying to hurt anyone. They might be trying to physically impact them, but no one, back in the day, people tried to hurt people. People tried to crack skulls. And now guys know. So when it happens, I think 99% it's inadvertent. And throwing a college kid out of a game when the overwhelming majority of those kids are never playing a game in the pros is nuts. This isn't basketball or baseball. You don't get that many games. And if they don't only get thrown out of that game, they miss the half of the next game. It's nothing is a bigger pet peeve in college sports that pisses me off more than that. I would say something that has gone to that level in the pros. In the Minnesota game, Dallas Turner, who is, I would say, underwhelming a little bit based on where he was drafted, and he was drafted ahead of Jared Verse, and you just like a little more, had an awesome rush today, and he sacked Lamar Jackson. And while he did it, he got flagged for the driving his weight onto the quarterback. And I've always said this, like when someone gets flagged for targeting in the NFL or college and they're both in the air, it's like, once you realize the guy's moving, you do know these are humans, not like superheroes. They can't fly away. Once I run full speed around a guy that's 320 pounds, turn the corner in usually under a couple seconds, going as fast as I can, I take off to try to sack the guy. Once I am around him and going down, I can't then magically fly away. And even Michael Strahan said, because it happened right before halftime, do you know if a player tries to turn or tries to make some movement, they could injure themselves? There is nothing anyone can do when I am sacking you and landing on you, my body weight. Now, there are times if I pick you up and suplex you, it's like, okay, that was excessive. But when these guys are sacking the quarterback, and it's one of those unabated where I get a couple steps and I'm going to light you up, I'm going to fall on you. That is the way it works. And any guy over 250 pounds doesn't have the ability to change the way they fall. That rule is outrageous. It really is. The call on Dallas Turner made me want to throw up, made me sick to my stomach. I'm not asking for 1970s football, but we have to all agree that is beyond the stupidest rule we've ever seen. I am sacking you or going to the ground. I'm going to fall on you. I'm a defensive lineman. I'm bigger than you. It's not going to look great for you. You play quarterback. And they said it on the Fox broadcast, and Michael Strahan. Why can that same tackle happen to literally everyone else on the field once you have the ball and I tackle you and I can go on you? Yet the quarterback, and I'm as pro protecting the quarterbacks as anyone, but none of these are malicious. The NFL has to do something. The overregulation, it feels like California government. What are we? Lamar Jackson was fine. He got right up. Just like most quarterbacks in the history of the sport that have been tackled like that, you just kind of get up. It doesn't feel great. Why you want to avoid getting sacked? It sucks. Usually hurts. I mean, it's not great, you know? But I thought the Dallas Turner tackle was one of, I just can't handle it. I mean, I really can't. And it doesn't feel like it's not only not going away, it feels like it's called all the time now. It's just, it's insane. And last but not least, I saw Richard Sherman put out a tweet that I really liked when it came to Mac Jones and Brock Purdy. And it was in regards to the 49ers defense got shredded today. And Tom Brady was asked about this, I think on his before the game, or I think he went on with Fox pregame maybe like an hour before the start of the morning games. And because he was calling the Rams-Niner game, and they asked him about the Purdy Mac Jones situation, and he essentially said, like, he's got to keep riding Mac Jones. And this is not one of those where it's like you're benching Brock Purdy. But Brock Purdy is not 100%. He hasn't been able to be the second string quarterback in well over a month. He's not able to dress on game day. He is not able to finish practices. So to me, sticking with Mac Jones isn't like we got a quarterback controversy. It's simply the guy that we just gave $200 million to not only is not 100%, if he's in a position where if we put him out there, he's just going to get injured again, how does it make any sense to put Brock Purdy out there? Here's the other thing. The 49ers now are going to be right there with the Chicago Bears battling for the last spot in the playoffs. And at minimum, you're going to have to get to 10 wins. Now, the 49ers have some easy games, in theory, on paper, right? The Arizona Cardinals, the Tennessee Titans, the Carolina Panthers. They have some games that most people would say you should win. But you pull out a quarterback who's not 100% and whose toe, this is not one of those injuries that just like broken arm, fixed it, month and a half later, it's healed, I'm fine. They've all said this thing lingers. We saw him come back early. He got immediately re-injured. We haven't seen him again. You just gave this guy almost $200 million. I'm not one of those people that act like Brock Purdy sucks. You throw him to the garbage. But a huge part of his game is moving around. And I see no added value to bring a guy unless he says, I'm 100%. If the doctor goes, he's at 100%, and he is no more likely to get injured with this toe injury than he was before he even had it. Then I say, okay, we'll go with Brock Purdy because we plan on him starting the rest of the year. But that clearly is not the case. And Mac Jones is playing like a really good player. The way Mac Jones played today, if their defense was just decent, they could have won the game. He was the least of their worries. He actually was really good. He's played 2 games against the Rams, and in his totality has been excellent. Mac Jones has played winning football. Mac Jones probably, as sitting here on November 9th, beside any guy in the league on a rookie contract, has probably been, by a substantial margin, the most underpaid NFL player in 2025. So to me, the reason you keep going with Mac Jones, like Richard Sherman said, is because he's just rolling. And your other guy is not healthy. And it's like, well, if he's healthy, well, what do you mean healthy? Is he 100% and he's not going to get re-hurt? Then okay, I understand the argument. You just gave this guy a ton of money. He's your franchise. But if he doesn't check that box, it's like, well, just no, there's no well, like you're going to risk making this worse. You're going to risk putting the team in a situation where he's coming out rusty. Then all of a sudden, one of those games, like, well, we should win this game. All of a sudden, you lose it. Then he's re injured. It's like, what did you do that for? One thing the 49ers need to do, because some of these injuries, they lost another guy today early in the game, their starting linebacker, the guy filling in for Fred Warner. Of course, you can't go a game healthy to save their life. But it's just try to make a sound decision. And it does feel sometimes that they make some weird decisions. And over the offseason, a lot of money was involved, like how we wanted to build this team. We can agree or disagree with some of the personnel moves. Obviously, the way some of these guys that get injured and then they bring them back, they get re-injured. We can debate if it's just whatever, if it's the doctor's fault, if it's not. I know 49ers got mad at me. I don't know. No one has the answers, but clearly whatever they're doing ain't fucking working. That much is not even arguable. I did see Brock Purdy come back one time, have not seen him again. So now I'm supposed to trust he's good just because he missed some games. This is injury. Deion Sanders got toes cut off. Literally, he's missed a couple toes because of this injury. So it's like, let's be cautious. Like and this is where the front office and ownership needs to be like, hey, can we have like a 5-year big picture view on this? What are we rushing Brock Purdy back for? It sucks. It probably really sucks for him to sign this contract, and now it feels like I'm just stealing money. I'm running a scam here. It's like you're not. You got an injury, a shitty injury that clearly doesn't go away and limit your ability. But I'm on team. Unless you tell me no problem and he's 100%, no chance he's coming back. Not when this guy's playing like this. It makes no sense. And if they do it and lose, they deserve to get crushed. We'll end on this. My friends at Hard Rock Bet, tomorrow night, Monday Night Football, I think I'm going Philly. That line's come down a little bit. You know, Philly is typically one of the louder, a lot going on. Whether they're Super Bowl champs or whether they're on a 5-game, there's always stuff happening. Feels like they're a little quiet right now, kind of flying under the radar. A lot of pressure on the Packers. The Eagles kind of thrive in that. They're used to that environment. I don't know. The Packers, Matt LaFleur, like it's been kind of quiet over the years. For the first time, everyone's looking kind of must win for the Packers. I'm going Philly +1. You want a little parlay on Hard Rock Bet? Philly +1. Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. Christian Watson, I think they're going to try to throw a couple bombs, test out these new corners to score an anytime touchdown. Pays 13-1. So that's what I'm rocking with for Monday night. Enjoy the night. Enjoy the morning whenever you may be watching or listening to this. And we'll talk to everyone after the Eagles-Packers game. Can't wait.